Hello, and welcome back to MetalDisciple.com's Metalheads podcast. My name is George.
And I'm Buke.
And we are back again.
Back again, buddy.
We were off last week again, and guess whose fault it wasn't? Wasn't mine this time. It was
mine.
It was yours.
Yeah, I had to go down to North Carolina and move my brother back up here. Yep. So he's back in town now.
Shit happens, so, we deal. And then next week we're not going to be here because of Thanksgiving, so what are you going to do?
The listeners in other countries are like, what?
Thanks, what?
Yeah.
Where's my podcast, damn it? All right. Well, this episode, we've got a band for you. And if you listened to last episode, you know that band was recommended by Daniel from Sweden. I can now tell you that band is Catapult the Dead. And we're going to have an interview coming up with them for you later in the show. Did you have a chance to check these guys out?
I did. This is, again, the project itself. Is it one man, two man?
That was like five.
Is it really?
More, yeah.
Okay. Reason I asked that is that the quality that these guys have been able to put together and put on, what I found, use Bandcamp.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
Amazing, really good quality. It's right in the vein of the Doom stuff that we're listening to right now.
Yeah.
The Ahabs, every other Doom band that we're listening to. The thing that I like, and I want to ask them about, the vocals that are used at sometimes are a little harshy, like black metal.
Yeah.
Kind of vocals at times.
Yeah.
But then like a second later, they're great. Go right into like a death metal growl.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, well, stick around, and we will get into that in a little while.
So speaking about these guys, you can find them on Bandcamp, like we'll talk to them later.
Right.
My iPhone alerted me to a new Bandcamp update, and you had always complained to me that the app is useless.
Love the site, hate the app.
Yes, and I was excited when I saw the release notes for this update because it says that you can listen to the whole catalog of bands and artists that are on Bandcamp, and apparently you get a certain number of plays of the album before you can commit to buying it.
That's interesting. They don't have anything quite like that on the regular site.
Mm-mm.
Either you can listen to it or you can't. So, well, that's interesting because that's the one thing that I really hated was, I downloaded the app and all I can do is listen to the albums that I've bought, which if I've bought them, I probably put them on my iPhone the normal way. I want to be able to use the app to discover new bands.
That's where I downloaded it. And I remember when you were raving about it, I downloaded it. And before you even make a purchase with Bandcamp, you don't even have an account.
Right.
You had to purchase and then your account is made at that time.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even do anything in the app. So I deleted it.
Yeah, so did I. Well, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into some news stories. The first two are about Metallica. Did you see the thing about Metallica's Lulu album, the one they did with Lou Reed? It hasn't even cleared 35,000 sales in the U.S.
Yeah, if that was any other band and they were worried about 35,000, yeah.
Yeah, if it was, Joe's Pretty Good Backyard Band, 35,000 would be pretty good. But Metallica, that tells you how bad that album was.
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't even think it had done that badly.
I didn't even listen to it, to be honest.
I couldn't get through it. It was bad. Also, Metallica's Some Kind of Monster, the 10th anniversary edition, is getting ready to be released, and they're going to include an extra 25 minutes with a piece called This Monster Lives, where they talk to the band now, or actually I think it was like last year, and the guys who, the director, producer, whatever, the guys that put the movie together. I think I want to see that. I assume they're going to sit back and go, yeah, we were a bunch of dicks.
That'd be great if they bring Dave in again, and they have another session of...
We love Dave now. Dave loves us. Yeah.
Or can it just be 25 minutes of why they use that snare drum tone for that album?
Gosh. Yeah, that was horrible, too.
Oh, man.
The movie was much better than the album.
The movie was really good.
Yeah. So Ensiferum is going to be releasing their new album in February on Metal Blade. It's going to be called One Man Army. Can't wait for that one.
Oh, yeah. You and I have been a fan of these guys for a while. I didn't realize they were on Metal Blade. But cool.
Yeah. Also releasing a new album. This one in March on Napalm Records, Moonspell is going to be releasing Extinct. Can't wait for that one.
They were one of those bands that I really got big into right around the mid-2000s when I saw them live. I think you were with me.
I wasn't, actually. I was jealous.
I'm trying to think what album. I can't remember the album was. It was the one that had in and above Men on it. Great, great stuff. And they kind of on my radar dropped off.
Yeah, well,
For no reason.
I mean, they did some strange albums for a while. I really liked their early albums. And then, they just, I don't know, they went too gothic and just got a little weird.
I love the front man's voice.
Yes, he's got a very cool voice. The last album they did, they kind of started going back to their roots a little bit, and I think it's a lot better than it used to be.
So the one time I saw them, you haven't seen them?
I have not seen them.
I'm trying to think what tour that was, but yeah, it was pretty cool. It may probably be an Opeth show.
Did you see the news about Wino from St. Vitus getting deported from Norway because of 11 grams of meth?
Yes, I did. The first thought that came to mind is, how lax are their laws over there if you have that much meth?
Unfortunately, I'm not really all that fluent in illegal drugs, at least not meth. and I have no idea how much 11 grams of meth is. I mean, 11 grams doesn't sound like very much, but
it's a lot.
It's a lot of meth. I suppose any meth is too much in Norway or anywhere. But anyway, they seem to make it sound like that was a bit of a heaping portion.
And they definitely were like, yeah,
get on out of here.
Get on out of here, buddy.
Yeah. I read afterward that it says that he's now apparently seeking treatment.
That's what they all do.
He's had trouble for years. I mean, he was like homeless and, he's had issues for years. So get off the meth, dude.
Did you listen to his stuff with The Obsessed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another band he has called The Hidden Hand. That's some good stuff, too. So, you were right.
I had a hunch. Boy, this one makes me excited. Yep, I was right. Last episode, I talked about a Opeth poster that I thought was almost like a teaser poster. And they did announce next year that they're playing the entire Ghost Reveries album in its entirety.
At the London Palladium.
Oh, man, that's awesome. I think it already sold out, too.
Maybe you can get some tickets on SeatGeek or whatever it is and make a trip over there.
Do some on location.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my highlight of news this week. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And again, they haven't announced it, but if they record it, a live album, live DVD, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they probably will, doing something like that, but they're not going to announce it until after in case they screw it up. And they're like, yeah, sorry, it didn't work. Somebody tripped over a cord, didn't record. So I think they'll wait until it's in the bag before they announce that it's like, yeah, we recorded it.
So also in other Opeth news, did you see the news that Frederick, the guitar player, came out and said in an interview that he's glad to be in a band that takes so many chances.
I think I saw that headline.
That they do, and most bands aren't willing to take the changes, to try new things.
Sure.
Like they do.
Yeah, a lot of bands won't. Once you find a spot where people like you, you don't want to change because then people get angry. It's a double-edged sword. If you don't evolve, eventually somebody's going to call you out for not changing and doing the same thing over and over again. At the same time, if you do change, the diehard fans are going to get mad and call you a sellout or, whatever. Just like so many people are doing with Opeth since they stopped doing the harsh vocals.
Well, I'm going to use this transition here also. You're going to like this here. You know that Frederick, when he came over and joined Opeth, he was the guitarist of Arch Enemy.
Okay.
Did you see the news this week that Jeff Loomis,
I did see that,
formerly of Nevermore, has joined Arch Enemy now?
Yeah.
It looks like it may be just for touring.
Right.
If he joins them for future recordings, that would be great because I think he's one of the best guitarists in metal now.
I can agree with that.
His work in Nevermore is amazing.
Unfortunately, we'll never more hear that. Wah, 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 wah.
You can't believe you just said that. What else we got, buddy, on the news?
I read that Igor Cavalera hopes for a classic Sepultura lineup reunion. I would really like to hear that. When Max left the band, 10, 12, 15 years ago? How long's it been? I don't even know, but that, to me, was the end of Sepultura. They may have continued with various other people in the band, singing and doing other duties, but I haven't listened to it.
Yeah. If Sepultura, they still put out stuff right?
They do.
Reason I ask is if you're the current singer or whoever in the band.
You don't like to hear things like that.
Exactly. Because you know why? Nobody really cares about you.
I don't even know who. I think there may be like one original member in Sepultura, if that.
Yeah.
So
maybe the fans in Brazil love you, but I haven't heard them really generating any talk in years.
And, I can't say that they're not making good music because I haven't listened to it. But it's like if you put out a band out there, called them the Beatles, and Ringo was the drummer, and that was it. Be like, nah, that's not the Beatles. It's the same idea. It just doesn't work for me.
And this last news story, I saw this yesterday heading to work, and this is so cool.
Did you see the pictures of them?
Yes.
The Foo Fighters, despite getting shit from all sides about all kinds of different various issues, they're releasing Emperor-inspired Christmas sweaters.
And I have been to ugly sweater parties. We've gone to them for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Where you try and find some old granny sweater with, snowman and but these ones are like the classic, Emperor logo.
But it spells out Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters. Oh, it's
I had
great.
to really look at it. I was like, what? That says, no, it does say Foo Fighters.
It's great. Slayer did Christmas sweaters last year.
I have to admit, I was going to try and surprise you with this one, but I just ordered a Christmas sweater from the Century Media Distro, CM Distro.
Okay.
It's a black sweater with like a goat head pentagram and like snow and stuff like that, And it supposedly has shipped, so hopefully it'll be here in time for me to enjoy for a few Christmas episodes.
Yes, just to walk in and see you wearing it.
Yeah.
Yes. And your little footies. Yeah. Like a little boy excited for Christmas.
Except not.
So I think you can go on, obviously, the web and get them. They'll probably sell out quick.
Yeah. In fact, it kind of bummed me out. I was like, I ordered that one, and then I saw about this, and I was like, oh, man. I think it's probably pushing it to order a second Christmas sweater at this point.
So let's get in some new releases for the week, buddy.
All right. Have you ever heard of the Swedish band called Anguish?
Nope.
Well, you should, because I think you'll like them.
Really?
They're releasing their second album called Mountain. It's sort of a traditional doom metal music with like a harsh but well-enunciated vocal. It's cool. I just ordered their first album on vinyl. Second one has not yet become available, but I will definitely be getting that when it is. Need to check that out. Next up this week, an album that's firmly planted in my top 10 albums of the year.
Not so quick on mine.
What?
Yep.
You don't think it'll be in your top 10?
Top 10, yes. Top 5, it's a stretch.
Well, this is the new Bloodbath album, Grand Morbid Funeral. Have you listened to the whole album?
I have, and I'm glad we're talking about it this week. My thoughts, okay? It's definitely a return to early Bloodbath sound.
Yes.
Exactly, the guitars.
It's crushing.
It's exactly like Resurrection Through Carnage. That's what you told me the first time you put that on years, 2001, 2002, when that came out.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm so used to associating Bloodbath with Mike and his vocals, and maybe I'll admit, I listened to a stream of it. The vocals didn't stand out at all.
Really? I thought they sounded a lot like Mike.
Really?
Yeah.
Because in the stream, again, maybe the quality wasn't good. It just kind of sounded like one muddled mix.
Well, I was listening to it with headphones on, like good quality headphones. And I have to admit, when I first listened to it, I think I was streaming like the YouTube video, and I thought it sounded like crap. And I was like, oh, that's not going to be good.
Yeah.
But then I put on my good headphones and listened to the whole album through at the gym.
Okay.
And it was, that was when I texted you from the gym. I was like, top 10 album, because it just sounds amazing. It crushes.
Mm-hmm. And again, the enunciation in the death metal growls that he does, like I like to hear.
Yeah.
What I associate Bloodbath for having in the quality I listen to, I didn't hear that. Right. So again, if you tell me that's not the case, then
take my word for it, laddie.
And I definitely will take your word. It everything was there in place.
Yeah.
As classic Bloodbath.
And now I really can't wait to hear that new Paradise Lost album when it comes out.
Everything was great. If I go back and listen to it on the better setup or everything.
Yeah. I think you'll change it too. Next up is a UK band. You probably haven't heard of these guys either. They're called Fen, and they're releasing their latest album, Carrion Skies. I'm not sure what to think of these guys. I kind of liked their last album. It's a little different. It's not really black metal. It's not really death metal. It's somewhere in between there. It's kind of atmospheric and like outdoorsy, but not in like a mountains way, in more of a British Moors kind of way. And there's something about it that keeps pulling me back, but at the same time, it hasn't really overwhelmed me. So I'm still kind of waiting to decide where I really stand on these guys. Mm-hmm. You know, they definitely pique my interest, but they haven't really reeled me in yet.
Okay. Fen.
Yep. And finally, the Irish Masters, Primordial, have returned.
This is already making some early end-of-year lists pretty high up there.
Oh, yeah. This is their new album called Where Greater Men Have Fallen. I've been a fan of Primordial for at least 10 years. They were definitely a lot more black metal back in the day. This album, and I think I mentioned this last time, the vocals are mostly pretty clean, which reminds me of his other bands, Dread Sovereign and Twilight of the Gods, his sort of power metal band that started out as a Bathory cover band and kind of evolved into something else.
Just like you were saying, their styles kind of changed over the years. They became on my radar. They were on my radar back in, 05's release of The Gathering Wilderness.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Man, I listened to that again to get more clean parts and stuff like that. That album was great.
Yeah.
That album was, I've routinely go back and listen to that album over and over again.
Oh, yeah. It's very good stuff. Terribly underrated band. I mean, they're definitely starting to get the recognition they deserve, but for years they were, criminally underrated.
Do you think that was because they were just doing what many others had done before? Maybe where they're from hampers them?
Maybe. I mean, they're Irish. There's not a lot of bands coming out of Ireland, and at least not metal bands. There are a few good ones, though. I think partly their production wasn't necessarily quite as clean. They were on Metal Blade. I think they're still on Metal Blade. Not that has anything to do with it, but I'm just trying to think of anything that might have. I think it's just,
They are still.
Just paying their dues and getting out there and people finding out about them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, why don't we get into our interview with Catapult the Dead? We'll see you on the other side. Hey, everyone, this is George from the Metalheads podcast. I'm here with my friend Buke.
Hey, guys.
And we are talking to a couple of the guys from Catapult the Dead. We've got Ben Hiteman and Emad Dajani. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
All right. So you guys released your first album this year called All Is Sorrow. Why don't you guys start off by telling us a little bit about the band, when you guys started out, who does what in the band, stuff like that?
Well, I guess it all started a couple years ago. Me, Ben, and Gary were, just writing some music, just like in our own home studios, and eventually started trying out drummers and got a band together. And our whole idea for All Is Sorrow, we were conceptualizing making like a soundtrack, more of something to go along with the video, and to make more of one long piece. And that was like the whole basis and starting of the band. The whole idea was to make this one song, and that was going to be the first album we dropped. And I don't know, that's how we went and decided to go about everything, and eventually just found all the pieces and people to fill in the roles.
Guys, before you had those roles filled in this day of modern technology where we can use various apps and recording devices and stuff, were you guys each maybe on your own starting to put together little riffs or little lyrics or anything down, maybe on when you're by yourself before you got together and started putting this project down?
Somewhat. I mean, mostly it started off as a studio-based project, and we all lived really close together and pretty much hanging out all the time anyway, so we were just messing around in the studio and just kind of went from there, Spare time went into building the base for it.
And you guys are in San Francisco?
Right outside. We're in the East Bay, Concord, actually.
Okay.
Most of us live. Some of us are Berkeley.
We practice out in Oakland. We play most of our shows.
Okay.
I have to ask you guys, since George and I are here in D.C. area, are you guys Giant fans?
Not huge baseball fans, but I was definitely rooting for the Giants.
Okay.
I've been Cincinnati. I'm a Reds fan. So
Okay. Well, for knocking out our Nationals, thanks.
So, what music were you guys listening to that inspired you to write this kind of music? And just how would you classify Catapult the Dead's music? Not that you should, paint yourself into a corner saying you're this kind of metal or whatever, but, just curious.
I think when we started, we really didn't know. I mean, we knew we wanted to play slower metal, but I don't think it really went into too much depth of, what style we were trying to play. More just a feeling we were trying to get, I guess.
It was definitely, we intentionally told our drummer in the beginning that there's no double bass allowed. It's going to be down tempo. We had a picture of what we were going to do, but as far as how it came out, I think it just kind of evolved for sure. It changed pretty drastically from when we started to what it turned out to be.
And I think you can hear that just in the writing process, because we wrote the album in order. So you listen to the beginning of it, that was when we were first starting to write and get things together, versus the ending of the album was when we were really, meshing well with each other. And I just feel like the writing was a lot stronger towards the end of the album, because we're really trying to hone in on our style.
Had you guys been in bands before this, or is your first band coming together and playing this type of metal?
Well, a lot of us had been in bands together playing different genres.
Yeah, that's how we met, actually, playing in different,
and
it's like a power metal band.
Yeah, this is the first band I've ever played guitar, and I'm mainly a drummer. And that's how I met Ben, was drumming for this kind of metal, power metal, epic band we were in just for fun. And
actually, the first time I had met you, I was playing drums for another band that Emad used to play drums for. And as it turns out, those two didn't get along anymore. And there was a shouting match over the phone, and I grabbed the phone and started yelling at Emad, and that was our first ever contact.
Now, guys, as a power metal fan myself, two opposite worlds here. How do you go from glorious, epic, sometimes, as it's called, let's just call it like we hear it, nerdy at times. How do you go from power metal to this glorious doom metal that I'm hooked on now?
Well, I've been listening to a lot of Eddie Murphy lately too.
Party all the time. That's a good song. I love that one.
That's been on repeat, man.
We all listen to everything, and
I know for me back in those days, I didn't really listen to slow metal at all. I didn't really have much of the attention span for it, and I was listening to more the melodic death metal, power metal, metalcore, whatever. That's more what I was listening to. And I don't know, I think Neurosis was one of the first bands that I really got into, where it's like, this is different. This is a different kind of heavy.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's kind of evolved my taste, and now it's like I listen to slow music. I don't listen to the fast metal anymore. I want to hear these slow, chunky stoner riffs as opposed to technical sweeping and all of that. It's just, I don't know, I think we all go through evolutions of what we listen to, but I think you can hear a little piece of all of the influence put together into it.
Sounds good. So, the opening track and title track, All Is Sorrow, 37 minutes long. Holy crap! Tell us about this massive song and how that came about.
Well, the original idea was we wanted to do something that sounded more like a soundtrack than a song. It was always intended to be one piece from the beginning.
Actually started out with the intentions of doing a film to it, but ended up just doing the short for Valencia and kind of dropped off there. But that was the intention, to keep it very like a horror-esque soundtrack. Went through a lot of emotion and conveyed a lot of feeling.
A lot of movements, a lot of time changes, key changes, and just trying to keep the attention there. But
little repetition and more like a journey and a story, and music, I guess.
I'm assuming, you guys have heard, the famous Dope Smoker by Sleep. I mention that because, another, album that's, one song that just goes on and on. As somebody who can't even write a 30-second song, is it hard, guys, to start to try and say, hey, you know what, at the 26-minute mark, we should work this in? Or does this kind of flow?
I feel like it flowed more the longer we got into it. I feel like earlier on we probably hit a couple of brick roads and rewrote, restructured, but a lot of the later stuff, and I think it's just that maybe we're all getting better at our instruments and better at what we were doing, but it seemed like the later stuff flowed way better, and in a sense, the song starts to write itself.
It's funny because a couple of the newer tracks we've been working on are right around 8 minutes and 10 minutes, and they just feel really short now.
Like, yeah, we get done with the song, it's like,
wait,
oh,
that's done already?
Really fast. It was only 10 minutes.
Yeah, when I first pulled up the album, I sort of double-taked. I was like, yeah, there's like this song and this song, and I was like, wait a minute, does that say 37 minutes? I thought there was the file was corrupted or something was wrong. I was like, that can't possibly be that long, but that's pretty awesome.
So do we now dare you guys to go over the hour mark for a song now?
We were talking about it last night.
Okay, now how much of that though was drunken partying talk though?
So who did that cool album artwork?
That was Coven Illustrations out of Spain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's some cool work there.
Nice. Really good. Really, really happy with what he came up with and how it turned out.
Excellent. So some of the vocals on the album are pretty wild. Do you do anything to prep your voice so you don't blow it out when you're doing this?
Lots of coffee, cigarettes, whiskey.
All the old standbys.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, do you guys play shows, or is this just a studio thing?
We play shows. Right now we're transitioning into a new drummer, so we haven't played in a few months now, but we're definitely going to be getting back to it at the beginning of the year. Hopefully playing some new material, because most of our shows have, all but one show has actually been us just playing this 37-minute long song. So now with the new drummer, we've got some new material coming, so just getting excited to get back out there and play the new stuff.
You going to be doing any touring too, or just local shows?
We'd like to do touring, but we all have full-time jobs.
Really tough with 6 people.
And there's 6 of us, and trying to schedule even one day a week to get a practice together is difficult, let alone trying to schedule, a week or 2 week long tour. But I mean, it's definitely something we want to do. We just got to get the timing right.
We're hoping to at least hit the West Coast this following year.
So for trying out new drummers, most bands would say, hey, try and play this blast beat or try and do this, roll or something like here. You guys just simply say 37 minutes, right?
If you can drum for 37 minutes, you've got the gig.
You cannot fall asleep and drool on yourself. That just kind of fell in our laps, and we actually met him at one of our shows, and he bought our record, was a fan prior, so it's like he knew what he was getting into before.
We just put like a little thing on Facebook saying, our drummer just left and we're looking, and just happened to hit us up on there. Yeah, we had one tryout with him, and we were just like, we're foolish if we try anybody else out at this point. It was just too
knocked
good.
It out of the park, perfect style. So
I feel like we have the best fit for the band now that we've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So what are each of you guys currently spinning on your iPod/iPhone/ musical device of choice?
Ooh, let's see. Really been digging the new Funerary.
Okay.
Pretty good stuff. What did I find the other day? A band called Pharaoh.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of them.
I've been really getting into Rosetta, and they just had a little EP drop that I really like.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, and Bong Ripper. Been listening to a lot of Bong Ripper.
Saw Year of No Light the other day from France, man. They blew it out of the water. Really, really impressive show. Really stoked to see those guys.
Okay. Well, we're about to play a song from All Is Sorrow. This first song is called Valencia. What can you tell us about this song before we play it?
Well, this is the first single out of the entire song we released, actually. We released just Valencia, and we filmed a little, pretty much like a horror short kind of thing to go with it. And yeah, it was like our first little piece.
And I think it's one of the first things that really, I think it was you and Gary had, and it was just like a little song that you guys worked on.
We brought it.
And I believe it was probably in a different key, different tempo, but it was just like this idea of a song that we kind of brought into this. So this is some like real early stuff.
All right, that was Catapult the Dead and their song Valencia from their album All Is Sorrow. We will be talking to those guys again at the end of the show when we play another song. Shall we get into our top 3 this week?
My favorite part.
And who did you choose?
This week I decided to do Testament.
Nice choice.
Yep, a band that you and I saw a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Sounds about right.
We saw them twice, right? We saw them with Anthrax, and then didn't we go back and see them on their headlining tour?
That's a good question.
I thought we did.
I thought Anthrax opened for them, but I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe we did see them twice. I have to look into that.
Yeah, we saw them on they opened for Anthrax when they released their album when Joey was back,
Right.
and then they came back and did their own. Whatever. Regardless,
It was a killer show.
yeah, these guys had always kind of been on my radar, but I hadn't been big into them. Seeing them live, wow.
I saw him in 87, I think it was, on the Practice What You Preach tour. Royal Oak, Michigan. Royal Oak Music Theater. That was the show I almost got blown up.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little theater, and I don't know, somebody like threw an M80. For whatever reason, it was like towards the end of the show. And you know how sometimes you leave, like, you're like, oh, they're going to do the encore. Let's book out of here so we can, beat traffic and things like that.
We've done it a couple of times.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, fate perhaps, me and my buddy were like, let's get out of here. I'm like, all right. So we headed to the back of the room, went out into the lobby. I don't know if we were looking at T-shirts or what, but we were standing around out there. This loud boom. And the people that had been sitting in front of us, not really sitting, standing, there were seats. It was like a theater. And the people who'd been in the seats in front of us came out, and one of them was all like dazed and confused. And, we were like, what the heck happened? And they were like, somebody threw an M80 and it landed in your seat.
What?
And it went off behind us. So,
It was like a little metal terrorist attack.
Indeed.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was my first time seeing Testament.
So the list.
Yes. What are your top 3?
Again, I will say this disclaimer. I am not a decades old metalhead like you are. A lot of my tastes are.
I'm curious to what you're going to pick, because it's probably going to be different based on a completely different perspective of the band than what I had. So
Number 3, The Gathering.
I knew that was going to be in there.
Features my favorite song, DNR. That song is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
The chorus, when the whole crowd's singing along with them.
Yeah.
Oh,
I really need to go back and revisit some of the middle albums, particularly Low and The Gathering.
man. Low.
Because I really just never got into those. And I don't know, it just was like the time. It wasn't so much the band, it was just the time. I just didn't give it the proper listen when it came out. And those are both James Murphy albums. James Murphy is an incredible guitar player. He was in Death and Disincarnate and Cancer, and he's a really great producer now, an amazing guitar player, and he was on those albums. So
Wasn't The Gathering Dave Lombardo?
Dave Lombardo.
First with the group? Didn't he do the drums on The Gathering?
I think you're thinking of Gene Hoglan.
I gotta look it up.
Okay, maybe you did. Shut up, he is. Well, told you, that's why I didn't really pay attention to that album. Now I really have to hear it. I mean, Chuck Billy, of course, Dave Lombardo, James Murphy, Steve DiGiorgio, the bass player of Doom. Wow. Good choice. What's next?
It's just, I've always been a fan of Dave Lombardo's drumming. His catalog speaks for itself.
Oh, of course, Dave is the man.
Number 2, this one was probably one of my top 10 albums since I've gotten into metal.
Okay.
Dark Roots of the Earth.
Nice. I was hoping you were going to put that one in there.
This album, start to finish, is, their classics are their classics, but this is amazing. Modern production value.
Yes.
Everything is hitting right on this album.
A great return for them, I don't want to say return to form, because it's not like their older material. It's something new and fresh and just pounding. It's a great album. Mm-hmm. Good choice.
And number 1 is The New Order.
Okay.
That has my favorite classics on that album. So
All right. We're not too far off. My number 3 is Dark Roots of Earth. I'm in agreement that their newest album is just amazing, so it had to make the list, despite it not being that old. My number 2 is The New Order. This is where they really started to come into their own, their second album. Disciples of the Watch, stuff like that, Trial by Fire, The The production was definitely a step up from their first album. And yeah, it's definitely a Testament classic. So my number one, any guesses?
A New Order?
That was my number two.
Sorry. Yeah, my phone just vibrated. Practice What You Preach.
Nope. Although it was tough. I was thinking of putting that in there somewhere, but I didn't. Number one, first album, The Legacy. I was looking through all the albums and I'm like, The Legacy, the sound quality is not as great as like The New Order, but the songs, every one of those songs is it's a classic. When I was talking about Exodus's Bonded by Blood, I was saying how in terms of the early thrash bands and the debut albums, that Exodus was definitely at the top of those, beating out Kill 'Em All and Show No Mercy and, Killing Is My Business and stuff like that. The Legacy is the other album that would sit up at the top there. The songs on that album are just incredible. I mean, Curse of the Legions of Death, Raging Waters, Do or Die, Alone in the Dark. I mean, every song on there is incredible. So it's my number one.
Interesting thing I just thought of here. With so many of these bands coming out this time, and we've done the Convincing Buke segment twice now, Exodus and Overkill.
Yeah.
I don't know why I latched on and liked Testament so much over the other two.
I was wondering that myself.
Maybe it's like Chuck.
Could be. Dude's got a voice, man.
He does. A beast on stage.
Yes, he is.
He is a beast.
One big pissed off Native American.
Yes, he is. For he can play some mean air guitar.
Yes, he does. that mic stand of his, it's like, it's not, I don't think it's there to perform as a mic stand. I think it's there to beat people with.
So
crowd control.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can't answer why I latch on to these guys. I love the songwriting. I love all the songs here. So no convincing me with these guys.
Good.
And please go back and listen to those other albums.
Yeah, I will. I've been meaning to for years, I'm always moving forward with new albums, and it's rare when I find myself with time to go back and revisit the oldies.
And it's rare when I can provide a member of a band that George doesn't realize was in it.
That's crazy that I didn't know that. Who was on the other album?
Because Gene's their current drummer.
That's why I was thinking that. All right.
Score one for Buke.
So, what have you been listening to?
Well, since when you asked me, hey, Buke, you got any idea for our top list? I said, yeah. Of course, I gave you Testament. But then it started me on this current, thrash revival stuff again that we've been listening to the past couple years.
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning a Warbringer, who we love, or, Municipal Waste, Toxicol, any of those type of bands.
Sure.
This is a Bay Area thrash band.
Ooh.
By the name, and let me pull it up right here in my notes. This is the band called Hatchet.
Oh, yeah, I love those guys.
And this is their album, Dawn of the End.
Okay.
Came out in 2014.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't want to say I was disappointed in it. I was disappointed that it was basically a different band than their previous album, which is like Awaiting Evil.
Yo,
yeah.
good, nice pull.
Yeah, I loved that album when that came out. I was like, that is a really great thrash
I've never
album.
heard that one.
Oh, you really got to hear that. Because then there was like nothing from them for years. And then I was like, I guess they broke up or something. And then, they mostly broke up. I think there's only like one member left.
Yeah.
And so they put out that new album. And I just didn't really give it a listen because I was disappointed that it was a different band. So tell me it's good.
So actually, what I should have been listening to this week then is Awaiting Evil.
Yeah. Well, now you can go back and check it out.
But yeah, these guys, the classic thrash revival, Bay Area stuff, great stuff.
Yeah.
I could listen to this stuff every day.
Oh yeah.
Only problem with this is it's just if you would never look at the screen, sometimes after listening to it for a while, hey, is that Hatchet? Is that Lich King? Is that Warbringer? Yeah, the little bits are stand out, but
yeah,
kind of runs on.
Sometimes, yeah. All right, well, this week I've been listening to the UK band Eye of Solitude and their latest, Dear Insanity. Now, this isn't an album. I'm not sure exactly how they're classifying it. I don't know if it's a single or an EP. It's only one song called Dear Insanity. But that one song is 50 minutes long. So, what do you call that? Is that a single? Is that an EP? I mean, it's long enough to be an album.
What does Sleep call?
Well, exactly.
Dope Smoker.
Exactly. I think of Dope Smoker as an album. And, of course,
online, it's an EP.
An EP, yeah. Well, so Catapult the Dead's not the only band with incredibly long songs. But I was listening to this again today, actually, when I was at the gym. And it wasn't exactly a great gym album because it's so kind of relaxing. It's like Funeral Doom, but when you've got a 50-minute song, there's a lot of keyboard breaks. And, I mean, what I kind of dig about Funeral Doom is it's heavy music that's also relaxing because it's almost like white noise. And like I said, there's a lot of keyboard and clean guitar for like minutes on end before they'll just be like, and come in with some heavy parts for a while. And it's a cool listen. I really like their last couple albums, so check these guys out. What's your classic for this week?
Classic for the week is when you and I first started hanging out and you gave me a bunch of CDs, said, Buke, listen. This is one you gave me. I don't know where this ranks in this band's catalog among favorites, because when I was going back doing some research, some of the reviews that, modern reviews, when people go back and look at old albums,
yeah,
the reviews of this album weren't too favorable.
Yeah, they're dicks.
Fate's Warning, The Spectre Within.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Awaken the Guardian is my preference, but anything with John Arch on there, as we were talking with Brian.
That's why I picked it, yes.
I love John Arch. Spectre Within, it's Night on Brocken, Spectre Within, Awaken the Guardian are the 3 John Arch albums.
And this has my favorite song, The Apparition, on it.
Such a good song.
Yeah.
That was on that Metal Blade Sampler album that I was talking about. That was one of the songs on there that turned me on to them, yeah. The Best of Metal Blade, Volume 1.
So, yeah, John Arch has been, one of my favorites.
Oh, I love him.
So, and this is another direct George recommendation that I love. So that's my classic. Check these out.
Have you ever listened to the Arch Matheos album? Mm-mm. You should check that out.
Okay.
That was really good. I have it on vinyl.
Which, by the way, if you guys don't follow us at Metalheads Podcast or Pod on Instagram.
Podcast.
At Metalheads Podcast on Instagram, George has been on a buying spree, making me jealous. He has had some crazy vinyl buys this past week.
Yeah, every time I get something new, I take a picture of it and put it up on Instagram just to make Buke jealous.
You've had some good stuff this past week.
Yeah. Well, I got a few more interesting things coming up. Did you see the Corrosion ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that Blind album.
I forgot I ordered those. I pre-ordered them like months ago, and they showed up, and I was like, oh, yeah! Good thing somebody was paying attention, because I would have forgot.
What's that song, Break the Cycle, off of Blind? Mm-hmm. Oh, love that song.
Vote with a Bullet. Mm-hmm. All right, well, my classic this week is 30 years old this year. My God. This is Celtic Frost and their debut EP, Morbid Tales. Yeah, as much of a Triptychon fan as I am these days, it all started 30 years ago with Celtic Frost. And for whatever reason, I really love the early stuff. I mean, I know some people might say Cold Lake is the best one, but but honestly, Morbid Tales was just one of the really early, metal albums that was taking metal to a harsher, darker place. Eventually, Morbid Tales got bundled up with the next EP, Emperor's Return, and it was Morbid Tales / Emperor's Return. And it was more of a full album. But Morbid Tales opens up into the Crypts of Rays, killer song. And can you say Procreation of the Wicked? Hello? So, there's only 8 songs on there, which, it's almost an album.
So it's an album.
They're short. I mean, it's only a 25-minute EP, but hell, Rain and Blood was only 28 minutes or 30 minutes, something like that. So, still, Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales. If you've maybe listened to Triptychon and you haven't listened to Celtic Frost, first of all, what the hell are you thinking? Second of all, go check this out.
To see where Triptychon's at now and where Celtic Frost started, is it a stretch for you to see where he's at now? Only
in that most people that have been doing this long are not still innovating. Mm-hmm. I would have expected them to be making, crappy retread music, not stuff that's my number 1 album of the year. It's mind-boggling that 30 years on, he is still so relevant.
The album still, I'm missing me.
What do you mean?
The album, I still can't.
You can't wrap your brain around it?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought you liked Doom.
I gotta go back and listen. Hey, as we're putting together our end of the year lists, I'll be going back and listening to stuff.
I know I'm going to be arguing this with just about everybody, but come on. I mean, it's so dark and heavy, and I don't know. It's like nothing else that came out this year, which some people might go, good. I'm having a little conversation with Godless in my head, going, no, fuck you, man. Triptychon. Take your Woven War and stick it somewhere else. But hopefully we can get them on here and argue out our next our lists sometime in December.
We're starting to put it together.
So if you're listening, guys, we're ready. We're ready to do this. All right, well, I think we're just about done for this week, so why don't we get into the rest of our chat with Catapult the Dead, and then we'll play you another song. But before we go, we're going to remind you, check us out on Facebook, check us out on Twitter. I'm Disciple OV Metal.
And I'm at OpethFan.
You can hit up either of us at Metalheads Pod. As Buke mentioned, we're on Instagram at Metalheads Podcast. We're on Stitcher. We're on YouTube. You can find news and reviews on MetalDisciple.com, or you can stream the podcast itself from WeAreMetalheads.com.
If you have any suggestions for end-of-year lists, something we might not have talked about since we've been doing this since, April, March?
Yeah.
Send us anything we may have missed we might not have talked about. Lists are long.
Oh, my gosh. Speaking of lists, the last time I didn't do a list last year because I was just too busy. Year before that, I did a top 100.
I remember that.
Which is just a beast of a list, particularly if you're going to order it. I didn't order that one. It was just alphabetical. This one I've been ordering, and my initial list that I went through and just pulled everything that sounded good to me was 73 long. And I'm like, wow, this could easily be 100. I don't want to deal with that. So I trimmed it back to 50, but that was like a month ago. The new Bloodbath has come out. There's another band, that one band that I sent you the song the other day that is really vying for contention. I might have to, I might have to bump it out past 50. Maybe 60 or I don't know, but
get ready in the coming weeks. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the last bit with Catapult the Dead, and then we will see you next time. We're here again with Catapult the Dead with Ben Hiteman and Emad Dajani. We're about to close out this episode with another song from their album All Is Sorrow. This next song is called Servitude. What's the story with this song?
This one was kind of this song just wrote itself, really.
The final piece of the puzzle.
Everything just started coming together at this point, and pretty much jammed this song out and practiced. And it just fell together. It was.
And we always kind of had the outro idea that we had for it. We wanted to have it really break down into just like a tribal thing, where it was just drums and then come in with just some heavy guitar riffing and have it be this super layered thing that just builds and builds and builds until it just all suddenly drops. So we had a pretty good concept behind it before going in and writing it. And I think that works as well.
Really fun one live.
Yeah, that's definitely. Ben gets on the floor tom for the second half of it, so it becomes this really percussive, really moving piece.
Definitely the most fun piece of the song to play live.
In my opinion, definitely the heaviest.
So, the album is available on Bandcamp, and I found it interesting that you guys noted there at the bottom that the album is intended to be listened to, all at once, consumed, as one whole piece, not, bits and pieces here and there. Was that something you guys had to, kind of consciously go into when we're putting this album together? That this is how we want it to be done? Because, in this day and age, with most people listening to music, it's a track here, it's a track there.
That's short attention span.
That's exactly why we release it as both, as having the one long piece, but having that also come with the individual pieces. Because we understand that, people might want to listen to us, but they might not want to listen to 37 minutes of us and having to be able to skip through it themselves. To have the pieces available individually, along with having the full piece, seem like the best possible for both worlds. Now,
with Bandcamp, guys, have it's obviously exposed you guys around the world. Have you been talking to fans and listeners throughout the world, and getting any excitement or great feedback from them?
Oh yeah, we've been completely surprised by the amount of touch we've gotten off of this. I mean, it's unreal to us to see, like, Valencia, we put it out on Bandcamp 2 days later after we put it up, free download on Bandcamp. It was on YouTube. It was bouncing around, and
people actually
we didn't push it at all. They just found it on Bandcamp, and it kind of took itself from there. And really cool to see how hard the fans out there are working to find new music. Just digging.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's thanks to blogs like what you guys are doing, keeping up with new bands and whatnot, just having social media and all these blogs that do this kind of thing. It helps the bands and it helps the fans find bands.
That's why we're doing it. All right. Well, thanks for talking to us today, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thanks to everyone for listening. We'll see you next time. This is Catapult the Dead and Servitude.